You've probably done this without even realizing it. You plant your tomatoes with the best intentions, you water them, maybe you even buy an expensive fertilizer, and then a few months later you're standing there wondering why the plants look tired, why the fruits stay small, or why disease seems to show up out of nowhere. The hardest part is that most of the damage happens long before you ever notice it. By the time the leaves start curling or the first tomatoes begin cracking or rotting, the real mistake was made weeks earlier. I learned this the hard way after wasting more seasons than I'd like to admit, and once an older gardener pointed out what I was doing wrong, everything changed. Since then, I've stopped chasing expensive products and started paying much more attention to a handful of simple habits that cost almost nothing but make a huge difference. Today I want to share the 5 mistakes I see again and again because almost everyone makes at least one of them, and every single one quietly steals part of the harvest. Some weaken the roots, some stress the plant without you noticing, others make diseases much more likely even if the weather has been perfect. The good news is that none of these problems require special skills to fix. You don't need fancy equipment, expensive chemicals, or years of experience. Most of the solutions are things you can start doing the very next time you walk into your garden. A few of these methods were shown to me many years ago by gardeners who never seemed to struggle with tomatoes, no matter what kind of season they had, and I still rely on those same simple ideas today. As we go through each mistake, I'll show you exactly why it causes trouble, how to avoid it, and what kind of difference you can expect once your plants stop wasting energy fighting against problems that could have been prevented from the beginning. And believe me, the very first mistake is probably the one that quietly ruins more tomato harvests than any disease ever could. The second mistake is one I see almost every summer, and the strange thing is that people believe they are helping their tomatoes when they are actually making life much harder for them. It all comes down to watering. Most gardeners either water too often or they water whenever they happen to remember. The soil becomes wet one day, completely dry the next, then soaked again after another heavy watering. A tomato plant never gets the chance to settle into a steady rhythm. It spends its energy trying to survive instead of putting that energy into growing healthy leaves and filling out beautiful fruit. I used to do exactly the same thing because I thought a thirsty plant needed a quick drink every evening. The leaves looked happier for a few hours, so I believed I was doing the right thing. Then an older man, who had been growing tomatoes longer than I had been gardening, asked me one simple question. He said, "Why are you teaching your roots to stay on the surface?" That question stayed with me. When you water a little every day, the moisture never goes very deep. The roots stay close to the surface where the soil dries quickly in the summer sun. Then one hot afternoon arrives and the plant suddenly struggles because those shallow roots cannot reach cooler moisture below. That stress often leads to cracked tomatoes, blossom end rot, flowers dropping before fruit forms, and weaker plants that seem to invite disease. Very few people connect those problems to watering because they happen weeks later. What finally changed my harvest was learning to water deeply and then leave the plant alone until the top layer of soil had begun to dry. That simple habit encouraged the roots to grow downward where the soil stayed cooler and more stable. The plants became stronger without any expensive products. I also stopped spraying water over the leaves. Many people still do this because it feels faster, but wet leaves that stay damp for hours create a much friendlier environment for fungal diseases than dry leaves with good air movement. I always water near the base of the plant where the roots actually need it. If I have a little extra time, I place a layer of straw or dry grass around the base. That old method was shown to me many years ago, and I still use it because it keeps moisture in the soil much longer and saves both water and effort during the hottest weeks of summer. It also means I spend less time carrying watering cans around the garden. Most people overlook this because it seems too simple to matter, but simple habits repeated week after week often produce the biggest harvests. And there is another mistake that quietly begins long before the first tomato even starts turning red. Many gardeners never notice it until the plant is already losing its strength, and once you understand what it is, you will probably never plant tomatoes the same way again. The third mistake usually begins before the plant even starts producing its first real cluster of tomatoes. And the surprising part is that many gardeners believe they are helping when they are actually creating future problems. I am talking about overcrowding and poor airflow. Every spring, people become excited and want to fit as many tomato plants as possible into a small garden because more plants seem like they should mean more tomatoes. I used to think exactly the same way. I planted them close together because the young seedlings looked so small that I could not imagine they would ever fill all that space. Then summer arrived. The branches touched each other. The leaves formed a thick wall that trapped moisture after every rain and every morning dew. Sunlight barely reached the middle of the plants, and fresh air could not move through them. That was when I started seeing yellow leaves, dark spots, and diseases that spread much faster than I expected. An older gardener smiled when he saw my tomato patch and said the plants are not fighting disease, they are fighting each other. I never forgot those words because he was right. Tomatoes need room to breathe just as much as they need water and good soil. Today, I always leave enough space between plants, even if it feels like I am wasting valuable ground in the beginning. By the middle of the season, that empty space disappears naturally as the plants become larger and healthier. Another habit that completely changed my results was removing only the unnecessary lower leaves once the plants became established. I never strip the plant bare because those leaves still produce energy, but I do remove the leaves that touch the soil or stay crowded near the bottom. That simple step keeps moisture from splashing soil onto the leaves during rain and helps fresh air move through the plant. It also makes watering much easier because I can reach the base without soaking the foliage. Very few people pay attention to this small detail, yet it often means the difference between fighting disease all summer and enjoying healthy, vigorous plants with very little trouble. I also learned not to ignore support. Whether I use a strong stake, a cage, or a simple trellis, I make sure the stems stay upright instead of lying across the ground. A supported plant receives more sunlight, dries faster after rain, and produces cleaner fruit that is much less likely to rot before harvest. None of these methods cost much money. Most can be done with materials already lying around the garden. That is one of the reasons I still prefer these older approaches. They are simple, dependable, and they work year after year. But even if your tomatoes have plenty of space, healthy roots, and strong support, there is another mistake that quietly limits the harvest itself. It is one of the most common feeding mistakes I see every season, and most gardeners never realize they are making it until their plants grow tall and green but produce far fewer tomatoes than they expected. The fourth mistake is one that fooled me for years because at first everything looked perfect. The tomato plants were tall, the stems were thick, and the leaves were a deep green that made me feel proud every time I walked through the garden. I thought I was heading toward my biggest harvest ever. Then the flowers came, but many of them simply dropped. The fruits that did develop stayed smaller than I expected, and by the end of the season I had beautiful plants but far fewer tomatoes than I should have had. That was when an old gardener asked me another simple question. He looked at my plants and said, "Are you feeding your tomatoes or are you feeding the leaves?" I knew exactly what he meant after he explained it. Too many gardeners keep adding fertilizers that are high in nitrogen because the quick green growth makes them believe everything is going well. The plant keeps producing leaves instead of putting its energy into flowers and fruit. From a distance it looks healthy, but the harvest quietly falls behind. Since then, I have changed the way I feed my tomatoes. At the beginning of the season, I focus on helping the roots become strong, but once the first flowers appear, I stop trying to force more leafy growth. Instead, I give the plant what it needs to support flowering and fruit production. I also remember something that was shown to me many years ago and still works today. A little compost around the base of the plant does far more than many people expect. It feeds the soil slowly, helps retain moisture, and supports the tiny living organisms that healthy tomatoes depend on. It does not create sudden bursts of growth that leave the plant out of balance. Another old habit I never stopped using is paying close attention to the color and shape of the plant instead of following a calendar. If the leaves remain healthy and the plant continues producing flowers, I do not rush to add more fertilizer just because another week has passed. Many people feed on a schedule instead of watching what the plant is actually telling them. Tomatoes are surprisingly honest if you learn to observe them. Healthy new growth, steady flowering, and firm developing fruit usually mean you are already doing enough. One more mistake often appears during this stage. Some gardeners become impatient and remove too many leaves, believing more sunlight will automatically create more tomatoes. In reality, the fruits still need enough leaves to protect them from intense summer heat. Too much direct sun can lead to sun scald, leaving pale, damaged patches that never recover. I always remove only the leaves that truly need to go and leave the rest to shade and feed the plant naturally. It is a balanced approach that costs nothing but a little attention. Very few people realize how much difference these simple decisions make until they compare one season with another. Once I stopped chasing fast growth and started focusing on steady, healthy development, my harvest became much more reliable. But there is one final mistake that ties everything together. It is easy to overlook because it seems like such a small detail, yet it can decide whether your tomatoes finish the season strong or slowly lose their strength just when the biggest harvest should be arriving. The fifth mistake is probably the quietest one of all because nothing seems wrong at first. Your plants look healthy, the fruits are growing, and you begin thinking the hard work is finished. That is exactly when many gardeners stop paying close attention. I used to do the same thing. Once I saw green tomatoes hanging from the vines, I relaxed and believed the harvest would take care of itself. Then I noticed that some fruits suddenly cracked after a rain, others ripened unevenly, and a few developed strange soft spots that spread faster than I expected. I blamed the weather for years until I realized the weather was only exposing problems that had already been building inside the garden. One experienced grower told me something I have never forgotten. He said the last month of the season decides whether all your early work was worth it. That advice completely changed the way I cared for my tomatoes. Instead of becoming less careful, I became even more observant. I checked the plants every morning for just a few minutes. I looked under the leaves instead of only at the top. I searched for damaged stems, early signs of insects, and fruits that needed picking. It amazed me how often a small problem could be solved in a minute if I caught it early. Most people wait until they see obvious damage, but by then the insects have already multiplied or the disease has already spread. Another habit I learned many years ago was to harvest tomatoes as soon as they reach their mature color, instead of leaving every fruit on the vine for as long as possible. Many gardeners think keeping ripe tomatoes on the plant will somehow improve the harvest, but the opposite often happens. The plant keeps sending energy into fruit that is already finished instead of encouraging new flowers and fresh tomatoes. Picking regularly tells the plant to keep producing. It also reduces the chance of cracked fruit after heavy rain and keeps insects from being attracted to overripe tomatoes. I also stopped leaving damaged fruit on the ground because it becomes an invitation for pests and disease to remain in the garden. A clean garden almost always becomes a healthier garden. One forgotten method I still use is simply walking through the tomato patch every evening with my own eyes instead of relying on luck. No machine can replace those few quiet minutes. I gently lift a branch, turn a leaf over, straighten a loose stem, or remove a fruit that is beginning to split. None of those jobs takes much effort, but together they make an enormous difference over an entire season. Gardening has taught me that big harvests rarely come from one miracle trick. They come from dozens of small decisions repeated patiently week after week. And when those simple habits become routine, your tomato plants reward you with stronger growth, healthier vines, and baskets of beautiful fruit that keep coming long after many other gardens have already begun slowing down. By this point in the season, the difference between healthy tomato plants and struggling ones becomes impossible to ignore. I have seen two gardens sitting only a few houses apart, with the same weather, the same sunshine, and even the same varieties of tomatoes, yet one garden keeps producing baskets of fruit, while the other slowly fades away. For a long time I believed that was simply luck, but after many seasons I realized it usually comes down to a handful of quiet habits that continue long after planting day. The gardeners with the best harvests never stop paying attention once the plants begin producing. They keep supporting the vines as they grow taller, so heavy branches do not snap under the weight of ripening tomatoes. Every new cluster of fruit adds more pressure to the stems, especially after rain, and a broken branch means the plant suddenly loses a large part of its harvest. I check my supports every few days because tying up a stem takes less than a minute and can save weeks of growing. Another simple habit I never skip is removing weeds before they become a real problem. Many people think weeds only make the garden look untidy, but they compete for moisture and nutrients exactly when tomato plants need those resources the most. They also reduce airflow around the plants and create hiding places for insects that are much harder to notice until they have already multiplied. Keeping the soil clean around the base of each plant makes every other job easier, from watering to harvesting. One old gardener showed me another trick that I still follow every season. He told me not to rush into the garden immediately after heavy rain just because everything looks fresh. Wet plants are surprisingly delicate, and brushing against damp leaves or tying up stems while they are wet can spread disease from one plant to another without you even realizing it. I learned to wait until the leaves had dried before pruning or handling the vines, and over time I noticed far fewer problems spreading through the garden. Very few people think about that small detail, but it costs nothing and can save an entire crop. I also learned that patience is one of the most valuable tools a gardener owns. Not every tomato ripens at exactly the same speed, and trying to hurry the process usually leads to disappointment. I simply keep the plants healthy, harvest regularly, and allow each fruit to reach its best quality naturally. Season after season, this steady approach has given me stronger plants and larger harvests than I ever achieved when I chased quick results. And perhaps the greatest reward is not only the number of tomatoes filling the baskets, but the confidence that comes from walking into the garden each morning, knowing exactly what to look for, and understanding that simple, consistent care almost always beats expensive products and complicated methods. There is one final lesson that ties all of these mistakes together. And once you understand it, gardening becomes far less stressful and much more rewarding year after year. When I look back at all the seasons I have spent growing tomatoes, I honestly do not remember the years when everything went perfectly. I remember the mistakes because those are the seasons that taught me the lessons I still use today. Every cracked tomato, every weak plant, every disease that seemed to appear overnight eventually pointed me toward a better way of gardening. The biggest surprise was discovering that bigger harvests rarely came from buying another fertilizer or another bottle with a colorful label. They came from slowing down, paying attention, and doing a few simple things consistently. Those 5 mistakes we talked about today may seem unrelated at first, but they all have one thing in common. They force the tomato plant to waste energy. Instead of putting that energy into growing healthy fruit, the plant spends it recovering from stress, fighting poor conditions, or trying to survive problems that could have been prevented. Once I understood that, gardening became much easier and much more enjoyable. I stopped chasing quick fixes and started trusting simple methods that have been passed from one gardener to another for generations. Deep watering instead of frequent shallow watering, giving each plant enough space to breathe, feeding the soil instead of forcing fast leafy growth, supporting the vines before they break, walking through the garden every day for just a few quiet minutes instead of waiting until something goes wrong. None of those habits costs very much, and some cost nothing at all, yet together they completely changed the way my tomatoes grew. The harvest became more dependable, the plants stayed healthier longer, and I spent far less time dealing with problems that once felt unavoidable. That is one of the things I appreciate most about gardening. It reminds us that patience often produces better results than rushing, and careful observation is usually more valuable than expensive products. Even after all these years, I still learn something new every season because every garden is a little different, and every summer teaches another lesson if we are willing to notice it. My hope is that after watching this video, you will look at your own tomato plants a little differently. Instead of wondering why something went wrong, you will know what to check first, and what small change might make the biggest difference. You do not have to change everything at once. Pick one habit, use it this season, and watch how your plants respond. Then add another next year. Before long, those simple improvements become second nature, and the garden begins rewarding you in ways that feel almost effortless. Thank you for spending this time with me. I truly hope these old, practical methods help you grow healthier tomato plants and enjoy baskets of fresh tomatoes with less work and fewer disappointments. And the next time you walk into your garden, I want you to pay close attention to one small detail that almost nobody notices, because that forgotten habit may be the secret behind your best tomato harvest yet.